Okay, Yoma 33. We're going to analyze today the very famous statement of Abaye that delineates the order of all the things that the Kohen would do every morning. This is related because in our Mishnah, we mentioned the Kohen Gadol, once he gets dressed, he goes and starts and does all the various activities. So now we get to analyze and appreciate those who wake up early and say the ketoret in the morning. Abaye misader ma'aracha misheme digmara. Abaye would explain the order of the sequence of all the daily services in the name of the tradition. He's not making this up. He has an old tradition. This is how they did it. And this follows the opinion of Abba Shaul. And here's how it goes. Ma'aracha gedola kodemet ma'aracha sheniya shel ketoret. On top of the Mizbeach, there were two ma'arachot, two arrangements of wood. Here's a picture. This is called ma'aracha gedola. It's the big one, and that's where they would place all the limbs of the animals, of the korbanot, were placed on here. This had a big fire. But besides that, there was also ma'aracha sheniya shel ketoret. They didn't put the ketoret on this one. The ketoret goes in the kodesh, right, and on the mizbeach hazahab. So why is this called ma'aracha shel ketoret? Because the Kohen would take some of the embers from here with a shovel and take them inside and place them on the Mizbach HaKetoret. So since they were taken from here, that's why it's called that. Why do you have two separate ones? Why not just use the big one? Well, the answer is you're putting animals on here with all the fat and the blood, and okay, now you're going to take this and bring it inside. It's not respectful. So there's a smaller ma'aracha next to it. So that's the ma'aracha sheniya shel ketoret. So first he would arrange the wood on the big one, and then the one on the small one. After that, he would take two wooden logs or pieces. In this picture, they're square, and he would place them on, right? So you have to arrange and everything, and then you put these two last ones on. The Gemara today will explain why there's two different steps here, arranging and placing the last two. And that precedes the removing of the ashes from the mizbeach inside, way in the morning or sometimes in the middle of the night. Remember, they take the ashes off the big mizbeach, but the mizbeach haketoret inside also you have to take some of those ashes. Now, once the Kohen goes into the kodesh to do to clean off the mizbeach, he also is going to prepare 5 of the lamps of the Menorah. Then he's going to go back outside, do everything that has to do with the korban tamid. He has to get the animal, get the blood, and sprinkle it on the mizbeach. Then he'll go back into the kodesh and finish off the Menorah. We'll see today the source of why do 5 and then 2. Why not just do all 7 at once? Then he's going to actually go back while he's in the kodesh. He'll give the ketoret on the mizbach ketoret. Ketoret kodem le'evarim. Then he's going to go back outside and take the limbs of the animal of the korban tamid and actually place them on the fire. If you remember, when they do shechita, right, they take the limbs and they put them on the ramp. And then they do the blood service, put them on the ramp. And only later, right, after the ketoret, they come back and actually put those, the limbs onto the fire. You put the pieces of the flesh first, and then you bring the meal offering that comes along with the korban tamid. After that meal offering, another meal offering, the special chavitin that the Kohen Gadol brought every day, twice a day. Chavitin lin sachim, and chavitin come before the wine offering. Un sachim lemusafin. After the wine offering comes the musaf. If it's a day, a holiday, Rosh Chodesh, Shabbat, when you have musafin lebazichin on Shabbat. You have the 12 loaves. Together with the 12 loaves, you also have the 2 bowls of frankincense, and those have to be placed on the mizbeach. They are placed here at this point. Ubazichin letamid shel ben harbaim. Then after that, then you could start the korban tamid of the afternoon. The tamid of the afternoon is going to be the last korban of the day. Shene'emar v'ktir aleha chelbeha shelamim aleha hashlem kol hakorbanot kulam. So burn upon it all the chabeh shelamim. What do we learn from that? that upon it means this mincha is the last thing. Everything has to be beforehand. That is the statement of Abaye. Okay, good. And now we're going to go section by section and analyze each one. We won't even finish this list today. Amar Mor, so the master said, Maracha gedola kodemet maracha sheniya shel ketoret. First you do the big fire, and then you arrange the wood of the smaller fire, that you use those ashes, those embers, for the mizbach ketoret. Minalan, how's the source? Detanya hi ha'ola al mokeda al hamizbeach kol halayla. זו מערכה גדולה, ואש המזבח תוקד בו, זו מערכה שנייה של קטורת. Okay, Vayikra 6:2, this is all the one continuous pasuk. It mentions two fires, right? This is the olah that's going to be on the fire, that's on the mizbeach all night, and then the continuation says, and there's going to be a fire on the mizbeach burning. So there's a repetition. Why repetition? Oh, it means that there's two different fires, and they go in this order. The first phrase refers to the big one, and then the small one. Okay, now it doesn't say which one's the big one and the small one. So we ask, wait, maybe it's the opposite. Maybe the small one is mentioned first, so you should arrange that, and then arrange the big one. Meruba. This is from the Pisukim, you can't tell, they look identical. But rather, this is just logical that the big fire is more important because you have a lot of kapara. You bring all the animals on that one. The other one, you just take twice a day 2 embers for the ketoret. Okay, so that would make sense. Wait, if it's based on just logic, I have an opposite logic. The embers from the small fire, you're bringing it into the Kodesh. So that's holier. Maybe that one should be done first. When we weigh both together, the one that you bring all the animals every day, that's got to take precedence. After all, let's say we don't have a small fire. It went out. There's not enough wood. We forgot. Whatever. You could always take from the big ones. It's not absolutely necessary. We do it just to be nice, to have some nice fresh embers. But really, the big one is the main one, and you would, in a pinch, you would take it from the big one. Therefore, the big one goes first. Very good. So the next step is you're going to put the 2 logs. Minalan, how do we know that you have to go and put 2 logs? You arrange it, just arrange it. What, that should include putting 2 logs. What does this mean? Dichtib, ubi'ed aleha hakohen asim baboker. עליה ולא על חברתה מכלל דאיתה לחברתה. So the full pasuk says, so you're going to put something on it. Even in the English is good here. Every morning the priest shall feed wood to it. So feed wood, you're putting some new wood on it, means something that's there already. So it's not just building a fire from new, you're building a pyre from new, there has to be something there, and now you're adding 2 more. So that's how you see this. There's 2 steps, right? That you have to arrange something, and that also it says aleha, and not on its friend, not on the other one, not on the small one. When we put the 2 logs, we put both logs on the big one, not on the small one. Okay, good. So that's how we learn that. From this word aleha. Hold on. We need aleha to teach the obligation of logs altogether. How could you learn from this that it means aleha on the big one and not on the small one? The answer is today aleha ketiv. If you look carefully at the pasuk, right? It has 2 alehas. So one is to teach that you gotta arrange it first, and then when it's done, put another 2 logs, and that we do that only for the big one and not the small one. Very good. Now, sidur shene gezireh asim kodem ledishun mizbeach hapenimi. So first we put the 2 logs, and the next thing is going to be removing the ashes from the inside, right? The mizbeach ketoret. Afagav dehacha ketib baboker. So this pasuk hacha is this one. Where is it? Here. והקטיר עליו ארון קטורת שמים בבוקר וטיבות הנרות יקטירנה. Okay, this pasuk is going to serve a lot of purposes, so we should remember it well. So on this fire, Aaron will bring the ketoret. So it's talking about making the ketoret, baboker. Anytime it says baboker, it means you have to do it early. So the more bokers there are, the earlier it's going to be. So now we have ketoret has 2 bokers, but the rest of the pasuk all attaches it to when he prepares the nerot. So, but there's also a boker compared to nerot. Okay, so remember this because this pasuk is going to be used multiple times. So that's one. That would be dishun mizbeach hapinimi. Baboker. And in another place it says baboker, and this is in Shemot 37. Okay, the point is that both of these, both Sidur Shenei Gezeresim, the other way boker is over here, right? This one was from 6.5. This was talking about putting the logs on. So putting logs on, it says here, baboker. Good. And regarding the Dishum Mizbech HaPinimi, that's why we're quoting this pasuk here in 37. That also says baboker. And since it says ve'iktir aleha ketoret, even though the pasuk is talking about putting the ketoret, well, before you could put the ketoret, you have to clean it off first. So we're understanding as a reference to cleaning it off. So now we have a competition, right? We have both pesukim say baboker. This one in Shemot is talking about preparing the ketoret, bizbacha ketoret. The other one's talking about placing the wood. Both of them say have 2 bokers. So which one are we going to do? Nevertheless, machshir adif. You need to do the preparation first. Which one is the preparation for the other? Machshir maynihu shenei gezerei asim. First, you got to finish off the pyres on the big mizbeach, because then you're going to take some of that embers and bring it into the kodesh. So you got to finish the outside mizbeach first. Put the last 2 logs. Only then can you go in and prepare the mizbach ketoret. So you got to do the first step first, second step second. All right, so that makes sense. Hold on, it doesn't make sense. The 2 logs go on the big fire, and we don't need the big fire for the ketoret. We need only the little fire for the ketoret. So really, you could have just arranged both of the big fire and the little fire, and then you can go and clean off the ketoret, right? And so you did the preparation for the ember that you'll need for the ketoret, and you could later on, you could bring the logs before you put the animals on it. So it doesn't have to be in this order. We're going to have 3 answers. Amar Rabbi Yirmiyah, shum atzim. We're talking about shum, meaning the name, the category of wood. All right, once you start arranging the wood, finish off the whole wood process, put the 2 logs on. Okay, good. Rabina Amar, you started with not just the name of wood, but this fire, this pile itself. You started arranging it, so finish it off and put the logs on. As we said before, let's say you don't have a small fire, right? It went out. So wouldn't you take embers from the big fire? So really the truth is the big fire is the main fire, and you could and maybe even would use that in some cases for the Mizbach HaKetoret. Therefore, the 2 logs for sure have to be before the Dishon Mizbech HaPinimi. All right, now, Dishon Mizbech HaPinimi Kodem Lahatabat Shen 5 Nerot. You do that first, and then the 5 lamps. My ta'ama, why? What's the source? Amar Abaye, Gemara Gamerna Sebara Layadana. It's a tradition I learned. I don't know why. All right. This is Abaye. He's the author of this whole list. He just says, I'm just repeating what I heard. I can't explain why. Luckily, Rava does know a reason that he heard Kedesh Lakish from Resh Lakish in Eretz Yisrael, a much earlier Amorah. For whatever reason, Abaye didn't know this tradition, but Rava did. The Amar Resh Lakish and Ma'avirin al HaMisvot. You should not forego misvot. If an opportunity for misvah comes at your hand, do it right away. So since the Kohen is already in the Kodesh, because he's cleaning off the Mizbach HaKetoret, while you're there, oh, look what else needs help? The Menorah. It's all burnt out from the whole night. Let's clean it up and prepare it for relighting. And let's explain now the order. When he comes into the Kodesh, what does he encounter first? The Mizbeach, right? As you see here, he goes through the Ulam, and here's the Mizbeach right here. That's first. So that's why he does that one first. Tanya, Shulchan Basafon. Shulchan's on the northern side. Mashuch min hakotel shete amot umechasa, and it's 2 amot and a half away from the wall. Menorah badarom meshulchan min hakotel shete amot umechasa. The menorah also is 2.5 amot away from the wall on the southern side. Mizbeach memusa ve'omed be'emsa mashuch k'lepei chutz. Kim'ah. Mizbeach is in the middle, except a little bit further towards the door compared to the middle. We have a picture here. So he's arranging the embers on the Mizbach ketoret. That's the bazichin, the frankincense we talked about, that go with the lechem. And here's the map. Right, this is going to be 2.5 amot away from this wall. This is 2.5 amot away from this wall, and this is in the middle. So when you walk in, right, you're going to encounter this first. So once you're here, you say, "Oh, look, let me go and don't go outside and do something else. While you're here, start off the menorah." Okay, good. Now, v'nukmeh lehadaihu. Wait a second. Why isn't it all in one row? Right? How come they don't put them all? Why is the mizbach? Why is it not in the same row? The mizbach ketoret. Why is it further towards the entrance? Because pasuk says the menorah has to be opposite the shulchan. So therefore, they have to be able to see each other. There can't be anything interposing between them. This is seems like it has a deeper significance. Rabbi Sassoon said that this furniture that's in the Kodesh is not actually for Hashem. Hashem doesn't need furniture, he doesn't need light, and doesn't need bread, but rather this is what Hashem puts out for the visitors, right? As when the Kohen comes in there, right? He should, this is God's home. So God's home, you come to a home, there's always a plate of kayak out there, right? So this is for that. So therefore it makes sense to, unlike the Mizbech ketoret, which is an offering, the light and the bread should be next to each other, see each other, to make it an inviting atmosphere. So maybe that would be the reason. Yeah.
Before you continue, just a quick question: you took the embers off of the smaller maracha and took it inside for what? To keep the mizbach ketoret burning?
Yes, so it'll be hot. Exactly. After you put the embers there, then you're going to put the ketoret on top of it to make it burn. Right. The mizbach ketoret doesn't keep its own fire continually. It's too small to keep it burning all day.
So you're taking them in and you're cleaning the old ashes that are there out.
You're cleaning the ashes out, and then you're going to take them in, right? Similar to Kohen Gadol Kodesh and on Yom Kippur, when he comes into Kodesh Kodeshim, there's no fire in there. He has to bring embers from the outside mizbeach and here in a shovel. Good. Amar Rava shema'mina mideresh lakish avore dar'a atotefta asur. So we can learn another lesson from Resh Lakish. He's the one that said that you should not forego mitzvot once it comes to your hand. That we should not take dar'a. The dalit in Aramaic is like a zayin in Hebrew, like zeroa, arm. So don't pass over your arm to do the tefillin of the head, right? Since you're putting it on with your right arm, let's say, right? And so your left arm is closer. That's the first thing that you're gonna encounter. So don't go straight to your head, even though the tefillin shel rosh might be more important. Do the tefillin shel yad first. It's right near. Take care of that, and only then do the tefillin shel rosh. So that's interesting. That's the reason why we do it. It might be less important, but we counter it first. So he should go from the arm and only then go to the head. There's another reason why you should do that, which is the order in the pasuk, right? Okay, so the commentaries ask about that, right? Tosafot, why not do it in that order? For that reason, as could be teaching actually something else, that not only the order that you put it on, but also the order you put it in the bag. Make sure that you put the rosh in the bag first and then the yad. So when you take it out, you're going to take out the yad first and put it on first, right? And that way you don't have to pass over the tefillin shadosh, right? Sometimes you make a mistake, whatever, someone else puts it away and they're opposite. So then you got it right. You have to put the rosh on the side nicely and say, sorry, hold on a second. Okay, so therefore that might be what he's teaching in that second line, in addition to what the Torah says. Excellent. Now, chamesh nerot kodem ledam hatamid. We're going to do prepare 5 of the lamps. Not light them, just clean them off and prepare them before we go outside and do the korban tamid, receive the blood and put it on the mizbeach. And after that, you go back in and do the other 2. Okay, this is going to require some heavy lifting to figure out what the source of this is. This is good. Abaye is the one that gave the list, and he explains why also. Hahu baboker l'shnei gezirei asim dela serichi shadinhu lehacha had shadiel hatabat chamesh nerot delik dameh ledam hatamid vechad shadiel ledam hatamid denik dameh lehatabat sheten nerot. I have a chart for you to explain this. Okay, here's there's 3 pisukim we're dealing with. One is putting the logs. It says baboker. Now we didn't need this pasuk for anything. We didn't use it because we said this is the first thing, just logically, before you're going to go and this is a preparation for the next thing that you're going to do, right? We said they have to get the logs ready first, do all the wood service, because you can use the embers for the ketoret, so that makes sense. So the truth is we don't really need these words baboker. Where else do the words appear? Regarding that pasuk in Shemot 37 that was mentioning both menorah and ketoret. We compared it with ketoret before. Right now we're going to use it for the menorah part of the pasuk, right? The second half of the pasuk. So you have to do the menorah baboker. There's another pasuk regarding korban tamid that just says one baboker, right? That's it. This one time it says baboker. Okay, so now based on this, really menorah should be first because it has 2 babokers and tamid has only 1. Right? So maybe you do all 7. We're going to see in a minute that the reason why you split the menorah into two parts, 5 and 7, is based on this. Baboker means 2. There's 2 bokers, 1 half here, half there. Okay. So we already know that you have to split it up into 2. And the question is, which comes first? This says 2, this says 1. Now we're adding another step here. Since the baboker for the logs is not needed, there's a principle, im eno inyan. If it's not talking about this, then we can move it to another place. Okay, it's like a hyperlink, right? We're just going to apply these words somewhere else. How are we going to do that? To here or here? Answer is we share it evenly. We take 1 baboket and put it here, 1 baboket and put it here. Okay, if this seems like not exactly pashat, or maybe not, right? Again, these things are from Alibad de Gemara. These things are tradition, but we're trying to go back and justify how we can explain the pasuk, especially if there are extra words. So now it becomes 3 bokers here and 2 here. So therefore, the menorah comes first, at least part of it, the 5, and then the tamid comes second, and then afterwards you're going to have another 2. Okay, so let's go back and see this inside, right? So he says this baboket of the logs is not needed. So we're going to put 1 here and 1 there, 1 for the 5 nerot that comes before korban tamid, and 1 we're going to put with the dama tamid that comes before sheten nerot. Since it has 2, right, that's going to come before sheten nerot. It's kind of like this one had 3, but you used 1 up, so now it only has 2. So now, and this has 2, so this is going to do like take turns. Okay. It explains further. So you have 3 for the menorah. That's going to come before damatamid has 2. We're going to put 1 of those from the logs, 1 of the bokes to damatamid. That should come before the last 2. And even though it's still now it's 2 against 2 because you already used 1 of them, right? So it's 2 for menorah, 2 for what are we comparing it with? That's why they made the outline. The korban tamid, the dam of the tamid, but the dam of the tamid is mechaper. So that's definitely more important than finishing off the menorah. Good. So that's Abaye's logic. The Papa challenges it. Amar le Papa la Abaye. והמה חד שדיה לדישון מזבח הפנימי נקדמה לדם התמיד. Why not say that, take one of them and put it for dishun mizbech hapinimi, right? So we're going all the way back here. Dishun mizbech hapinimi, we already finished that, right? We did the woodpile 2 logs. Here's the dishun mizbech hapinimi, taking the ashes from the golden altar. So why not take one of the bokas and apply it here to this? I mean, once you're moving it around, how do you know where to move it? And then this will teach me something else altogether. Nikdameh ledamat tamid. And we'll learn from that this comes before the blood of the tamid, because this will have 3. This has a boker baboker, and this one has only 1. You're adding 1, so this has 2, and that means this comes before this. We're using the same pasuk. The same pasuk talks about lamps and the golden altar. So like, which half of the pasuk are you applying baboker to? Why not apply it to the first half of the pasuk? So then I know this comes first, then comes the blood of the tamid. And how about the 5 lamps? No, you move them over to later. And now the dam tamid will come before the 5. And even though the dam tamid and the menorah both have 2, but tamid is better, it takes precedence because that has atonement. Imken, so you could do it that way, right? So according to Rav Papa, apply it to this here, the golden altar. So you have 3 here, 2 here for the blood of tamid. So move the 5 lamps over, and then you'll have blood of tamid, then 5 lamps, and then 2 lamps. Okay, so that's what he says. Now you see the problem with that. If you have 5 lamps and then 2 lamps, that's all 7. Right, you're doing 5 and 2 back to back. That's not really 2 separate things. Then what are you going to use to make an interruption between the 5 and the 2? How do we know you need an interruption altogether? Resh Lakish says the only reason why you split it between 5 and 2 is to get everybody excited by doing another process, right? So, you finish the 5, okay, everybody go home. Oh, now we're going to do it again. Everybody comes and gets more excited. So that's okay, because now you're still making it 2 avodot, even though they're back to back. You could get everybody excited. According to Rabbi Yochanan, according to Shakish, it's like looks like a drabanan. It's just a nice thing to do. According to Rabbi Yochanan, we're learning from the Torah. One boked and another boked, split it into 2 parts of the morning. It has to be 2 different times of the morning. There's got to be something in between. And so, Def Papa, your proposal will not work for the Rabbi Yochanan, and that's why we prefer the one that Abaye said earlier. Okay, so that is the answer. This whole thing that we've been talking about above assumes that the baboker for the logs is extra, and that's why we can take one of them and move it over, right? Both Rav and Rav Papa were moving it one here and one there. But wait a second, is it really extra to begin with? Don't we need it to know that those logs themselves, the after all, look here, we do the wood pile, and then the 2 logs, and so I might have thought that the Torah wants us to arrange the big fire, put the 2 logs on also, right, and only then do the second one, do the second fire. No, we know they can't do that because it says the word aleha. Aleha means you put it on it and not on the little one. And so therefore you see that obviously you have to do the logs after both the big one and the little one are there already, the 2 alehas, and then only afterwards you would do the other. So you don't need the baboker to tell you that you're going to arrange the logs before you put the 2 logs on. We already know all that from before. All right. Now, my shena de'abed hatabat chamesh tenot beresha. I know we established you have to, the 7 can't be done at once because you need baboker and baboker. So you have to do separate times. How do you know it's 5 and 2? You could split them up 1 and 6, 3 and 4. Na'abed hatabat shetenerot beresha. Maybe do 2 first and then do 5 later. No, once you're starting, finish off most of it, right? You're excited about the mitzvot, so do as much as you can. All right, if you do as much as you can, then abit sheet, so do 6 and leave only 1 till later, because you still need 2 groups. Okay, 6 and 1 is still a group. Amar kera betivot hanerot yaktirena, right? When he fixes up the nerot in plural. And the minimum of plural is 2, so that's why 5 and 2. Okay, now we're ready for the next section. After you do the candle, the lamps, then you actually burn the ketoret. It's the order of the pasuk. First, you do the lamps, and then you burn the ketoret. Ketoret comes first before putting the limbs of the tamid onto the fire. The Tanya yugdam davar shenemar bo baboker baboker, davar shelo nemar bo ela boker echad belbad. Ketoret, it says twice boker, so that comes first before the korban tamid that has only 1. And the last step for today, ve'ebarim lemincha, after the limbs, only then we put the meal offering. The Tanya minan shelo yeh davar kodem the tamid shel shachar. The first thing you have to put on the mizbeach is the animal of the tamid shel shachar. You can't put anything else on the fire before that. How do you know? Arrange upon the fire, the olah. What do you mean ha-olah? The olah. Maybe you're bringing a lot of olot that day. Ha-olah means the first one, the korban tamid shel shachar. Baruch Adonai Olam, amen, amen.